What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Keegan and Company podcast. Really exciting episode today. In this episode, I'm sitting down with professional boxer Harry Garside, and I don't want to pigeonhole him as just a boxer because he also does so many incredible things in the mental health space, in the media space. He's knocking around in all the different uncomfortable challenges that he does, and we're going to hear from Harry today surely around why he does uncomfortable things, how he manages his emotions. He's a really deep thinker and loves philosophy and loves extracting all the biggest things about life. So in this episode, we are going to hear from Harry around masculinity and how he is so open about wearing dresses and painting his nails, but then is also a professional boxer and does all these really gnarly challenges. We're also going to talk about how he manages life's curveballs. He's obviously been in the media space, had some really big dramatic things happen to him publicly. So we talked about how he navigates that, and probably one of my favorite things towards the back end of the podcast, which I would love for you to stick around with. One of my favorite things that he mentioned was around purpose. Finding purpose, how to show up authentically, and he got really fired up at the back end of this episode. I absolutely love this conversation with Harry. If you've enjoyed any of our podcasts, could I get you to hit that little subscribe button? It does help us. It goes a long way. It lets us grow the podcast. It lets us have more beautiful conversations like we have with Harry today. Enjoy the episode. Harry Garside, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Hell yeah, pumped to be here.
Mate, we did it. I know you've had a late night. you got in late last night. I remember I woke up this morning and I had a voice note at like 11 p.m. You're like, man, I can't get into my accommodation. How are you feeling on the lack of sleep?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Sleep is definitely something I pride myself on. And I must admit, the last 4 or 5 nights, I've just had a lot on.
Yeah.
And sleep has been on the back burner. I had the TikTok Awards. I had a trip to Melbourne. Had to be up early the next day. Like, just a lot. Yeah. But I'm actually feeling all right. We got to bed, I want to say midnight, just after midnight, and I had a good 7 hours. Right. I usually thrive off 8.5, but 7 hours is great.
Well, man, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you here, man. Like, to be honest, when I started this podcast probably 2.5 years ago, probably started 3 years ago, but we went to air 2.5 years ago, and I wrote down a list of probably like 10 names who I thought would be really great in the space for encouraging conversation, who challenge stereotypes, who I thought were, I guess, really great role models in professional sporting space, but then also had that really vulnerable side. And you're on that list, brother. So I'm glad this is a full circle moment. I'm really pumped that we're doing this, man.
I love that, mate. I think you've been killing it. You've had a few of my mates on Whippet. You had Whippet on as well. Ryan Whippet, he's a legend. I've seen a couple other people as well. So keep leading from the front, mate.
Thank you, mate. Well, hey, to be honest, by the end of this conversation, there's probably a few key themes that I'm really keen to flesh out, and I'm really keen to get your experience on. I'm really keen to talk about masculinity and challenging stereotypes, as I said before, because you've obviously been in this space for a little while now, managing life curveballs, so around accountability, imperfection, and honesty when things get messy. I love the way you show up in the public space, and all the other little rabbit holes that we're going to go down. Before we start, is there anything off limits?
No, not at all. I like to think that I'm an open book, and anything that I don't particularly want to go deep in, I'll just dance around.
Yeah,
because
I'll just curve it.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think as humans, we need to build trust first. Yeah. Brene Brown talks about this better than anyone. Build trust first, and then vulnerability comes after that.
Gotcha.
You don't just be completely vulnerable first up. You share what you're comfortable sharing, and then when that trust is built, you share more. But I think if you're just opening up complete vulnerability at the start, I just think it's I don't know. I think there's an element of you build that relationship and build that connection with people. And yeah, if there's anything I don't really want to talk about, I'll just dance around.
But you're incredibly vulnerable very publicly. From the outside looking in, and from my from the Instagram and the social highlights that I see, I feel like you are super vulnerable publicly.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because I would say, comparatively speaking to the rest of the world, yes, probably I am. But to me, it's like there's still some deep vulnerabilities that I probably wouldn't share. So it's like running a 5K to someone that's massive, to other people that's not that big. So it's like, if you have delved inside yourself a fair bit, not saying I have more than anyone, but I've just delved from a young age. I was so grateful that there was a number of pivotal moments where I was given so many opportunities to build my emotional intelligence and to delve inside myself, which not many young people get. And I got that for like a good 5-6 years. So just constantly building emotional awareness, emotional literacy, being deeply curious, which is such a blessing to have. Obviously, sport has helped massively as well. So I would say like, I'm vulnerable compared to the rest of the civilization. Yeah. But in saying that to myself, it's like there's still some stuff that I probably wouldn't go into.
Well, mate, tell me about those key experiences that led you to be the Harry that I'm talking to now. Like, what are the key experiences that makes you who you are today?
I think getting in touch with your younger version of yourself. So I actually think it's actually part of the process of the self-help, self-healing journey. You know, people often talk about it's like parenting your younger version of yourself as an adult. So like stuff happens to us all as kids. We make sense of our reality as a child, and often that sense isn't accurate, you know, but it serves us. So we have to just try and survive the reality that we're born into. And I think at 16, a really crucial moment, the Reach Foundation, a youth organisation started by a footy player, Jimmy Steins, Brownlow medalist, and Paul Curry, a film director. They enter my life. They come to my school at the age of 16 and they run a workshop. And that first day, I started as a participant. And in the next 5 years, I become a crew member. I went out to schools myself.
Really?
And just that 5 years was just... It's so incredible. Like I got given so many opportunities to hold space, to delve inside myself, and other people hold space for me. And I think in that, I think I got, it's like the rebirth of curiosity, because I think every young person is naturally curious about the world, but then eventually we start talking in certainty and believing things. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely times I do that. Yeah. But I think just being deeply curious and always trying to evolve an idea or listening to someone, have someone challenge you. And that's definitely something the Reach Foundation did for me.
So prior to the Reach Foundation, were you not open to having those types of conversations? What did life look like before that to make you, I guess, have that experience and so profound that when these guys came into your life, you're like, oh, wow, that challenged you on how you could actually operate? What was life before that?
Yeah, life before that was... So have you ever seen High School Musical?
Love.
Yeah, love it.
Love.
So my favorite...
Troy Bolton, let's go.
Yeah, arguably my favorite movies in high school in primary school was High School Musical. And I actually think, if you don't know, for people listening, High School Musical was just like Troy Bolton is this jock, but he's also got this sensitive side. So I really connected with that. I didn't realize at the time, but I really connected with Troy because there's something inside of me that's super vulnerable, super soft. And the first 9 years of my life, I would say, it's like I felt so soft compared to my two older brothers. I'm the youngest of three boys. And I think in that, I felt I had to create this impenetrable armor. I had to be more like my brothers. So I started boxing at the age of 9. And I would say that I wore armor of this masculine, strong man boy for a lot of my schooling life to hide that softness inside. And then through the Reach Foundation, I was able to delve inside and not be scared of what I was showing. You know, I was in a safe space to do that. Yeah. And then through time, like obviously the security of success, the security of boxing, feeling safe in my body, I built courage in my 20s, definitely, where I could show the world more of who I was, where it's like a lot of my 16 to 20, I felt like I could only do it in the Reach Foundation. I wouldn't go home and act like that. Sometimes I would, but not often, because I would get shamed by my brothers or by my dad for not being manly enough. Yeah. And then I would say in my 20s, I think I built a lot more courage to be that, which I think I'm really grateful for.
Yeah. How do you think masculinity shows up for you now that you've been through the vulnerable side? Like you're very in touch with your vulnerable side, but then also, I guess like that masculine side as well. Like what does masculinity look like for you now?
I think masculinity is different for everyone. And I actually think it's kind of frustrating how much we talk about it. Yeah. It kind of makes it really confusing because there is so many ideas in it. And I think the way I look at it, it's like humans, it's like we have, do you remember those Venn diagrams, the circles that overlap? Yeah. We have our own individual circles as humans, and inside that circle is a mixture of so many things, so many interests, so many things that we're not aware of, so many things that are formulated from a young age, some things we're born with maybe. And I think inside that circle for me is, you know, a form of masculine, a feminine, you know, I'm super competitive, super caring and soft. I love being dumb and silly. Yeah. I've got dark humor. Like there's so many things inside that box. And I think for me, it's not about masculine or feminine. It's like, what is my life needing right now? So I would say the masculine and vulnerable side of me has really been balanced out amazingly the deeper I'm getting into my 20s, because I think I think it's nice to just accept both sides,
Yeah.
you know, and I think it took me a long time to accept that feminine side because the environment that I was in shamed it a lot. And society now shames it a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like, I do also think the fact that I feel I could protect myself physically really helps. And I'm not encouraging other people to do that, but I think I can't deny that I think the fact that if anything happened right now and someone comes to this room, I would hope that I would try my best to help the situation, defuse it, or react to it if I needed to. So then in that, there's physical security. So then I feel like I can be way more softer, way more feminine if I need to. You know, I sort of sit in the middle of both, I think.
I think you touched on something there around environments, like the environment. Like you mentioned your dad and your brothers being probably fairly old school, right? And that's typically, you know, the environment that we're in, that's how we typically grow up. I remember when I was playing footy, I came into a professional space, same thing. I was here at the Bronx, like we're recording here in Brisbane. I did all my junior stuff at the Bronx. Coming into a professional environment, very masculine, very testosterone filled, very like, and I felt like, well, I need to be the aggressor. I need to come in and almost like stamp my authority in order for these guys to respect me, to appreciate me, to maybe just like for me to even get into the team. And I held on to that for ages, like, and probably throughout my whole footy career. And it wasn't until I retired. I was medically retired when I was 24, where I felt like I was a lot more myself. I felt like the person that I was on the football field versus the person that I was outside the football field were two totally different people, right? I felt like a lot more like playful, fun. And then you start getting compliments, people being like, oh man, you're very playful, very energetic. Like I loved your energy. And I was like, well, that wasn't me. And then now the way you talk about the environments, I was like, they're two almost like totally separate environments. Tell me about it now, because you've been through, you know, the Olympic space, you've been boxing forever, and now you're in a place where you're doing other things as well. How do you go navigating it with two separate environments or different environments?
See, masculinity it's a beautiful thing, you know, and I think, but success in the world we live in, it is a patriarchal world. Success is shown through masculine traits, right? So I think a lot of people, man or woman, embody masculine traits to get a job promotion. I'm not saying it's not possible to do it with feminine traits, but I think it's way more predominant. And the way I look at masculinity, you always have to prove it.
Yeah.
You know, there's not an equivalent to effeminated. There is emasculated. There's not even a word for it. I just made that word up. It's not even a word, right? But it's a fascinating thought to think that masculinity, you constantly have to try and prove yourself. And you almost like constantly forget, and you have to constantly be proving and proving and proving. And that's why I think sometimes it gets a little bit frustrating to always be in your masculinity. It's like you're always having to prove your capabilities through sporting success, through how much money you've got, through what you're driving, like all these little subtle things that we show as a society. And while don't get me wrong, I'm competitive. I like being in that. I don't want to live in that. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, there's time where I'm like slowing down and I'm giving myself what I need, because if you're constantly in that state of masculine, I think it's just like you're setting yourself up for this. It's almost like you're not even actually experiencing life.
What are the negatives when it comes to, like, if you're in that space too much, do you think?
Well, I think you can absolutely get to the places that you want to get, you know, but it's like, for me, I can only speak from my experience, but I can't deny that a lot of my life, I would argue that I created an impenetrable armor of this masculine man who went to 2 Olympic Games. I had success in my first Olympic Games at the age of 23 or 24, and I thought it was going to change who I was as a person, right? And I'll never forget, I sat in quarantine in Brisbane and I had the medal on my neck and I had tears rolling down my face, because I think for a lot of my life, I just searched externally for respect from men. I searched externally through sporting success. I wanted men that I grew up around to treat me as their equal. And I almost dedicated 15 to 16 years of my life to gaining their approval. And I got to a level of success and I felt so unfulfilled. And I think it's because it's not living authentically to who, like, what actually is it? Don't get me wrong, I love boxing. I don't need to prove myself though.
Why did you feel unfulfilled when you got the medal?
I think it's because I was looking, if I really sat down and thought about what was the main driver, I would argue that my main driver was to gain respect and to fit in and to be accepted by men. There was a level of purity. It was my thing. I love the meditative state that boxing is, and I think it's such a magical sport, and I'll always do it. But I would argue that for me, a lot of what drove me was for men to treat me as their equal, e.g. my brother, my dad, the other men around me growing up. And then it kind of just expanded to the rest of the world.
Because that was the first Australian medal that had been won in like 30-something years, right, in boxing? Is that correct? I imagine. I don't know. It's part of the research, so I would hope it would be correct. But even if not so, like there has to be probably like a level of confidence, a level of satisfaction, because you would have been grinding for that for years, right?
Yeah. So I think it's so interesting because even right now, I think I'm talking in black and white, but the way I look at the world, it's like dialectic thinking. There's multiple realities are true at any one time, coexisting realities. And I think, of course, there's this level of pride and, it took 15, 16 years and so many setbacks and, I didn't even make the Tokyo Olympics. I got given the spot. That's a different story. I got given the spot because of COVID. There's so many things that happened in that 15-year period. There was times where I thought I was going to, walk away. There was times where I just wasn't good enough. I lost so many fights in my first, 8-9 years of boxing, was just really average for a long time. So I'm proud that I kept showing up and I kept persevering. And there was absolutely a level of pride. I did something inside of me didn't believe I could. There was that coexisting reality of fucking oath, I believe I can. And maybe I won't be able to, and I did it. That's a nice feeling, but I also can't deny that I thought it was just going to magically make a man of me. But it's a weird paradox because it kind of did in some way because I absolutely explored myself more. I challenged myself. I constantly tested myself. But it's it was searching externally for answers. And the external thing that I was searching for was men to respect me when, I think the only answer you can ever find or for fulfillment is internal questions, and that's more of going on internally. Yeah. And if I am to box, it's more, I'm doing it to go internal. I'm not doing it for external praise anymore.
I was going to say, what were the learnings if it's not searching for that validation and that respect from your brothers, your dads, from all the external stuff? Where does that sit you now on the spectrum of looking to find, I guess, a bit of satisfaction in yourself?
And that's the journey that I'm on right now. Gotcha. So I'm still boxing. I still very much love the sport, but I'm very much just deciding what am I doing? And I think I've got a way better relationship with the younger version of myself. That comes in waves too. Yeah. But I would say overall, I'm just trying my best to listen to that young kid, and just letting that young kid know that he doesn't need to search for approval or acceptance. He's got his own, e.g. me as a 28-year-old man. And I think that's nice. And I think the young kid hasn't directed where I'm going next. Yeah. It could be boxing, it might not be, I'm not sure. But it's nice to have a better relationship. I'm just creating space, having no pressure. Yeah. I'll always test myself and challenge myself because I like that. It's fun. It's fun to experience life. I know you're doing an Ironman soon. Just the misery of that. So nice. Yeah, you really figure out who you are. Yeah, it's geez. You're why did I sign up to this shit? Yeah. It's nice. I think it's a really nice feeling to push yourself past your limits and inside the Ironman that you're about to experience, there'll be a number of times going I don't want to do this. I don't even want to finish this. But then you keep pushing through. That's a great feeling.
I love the way you look at it as you're just on this full journey. It's not there's no end point. There's no end destination. It's I am just on this journey. I figure things out along the way, and that's just part of the process. On your story this morning, you obviously must have been doing a bit of journaling when you were late last night. I saw it this morning, but you wrote some beautiful pieces of words here. And one of them was, those who refuse to take ownership of their lives will always remain victims of their circumstances. I love that, man. And for me, it kind of just ties in exactly what you were saying then, whereas putting yourselves in these really tough positions just makes you find out so much more about yourselves. I know you were doing the uncomfortable challenges all those years ago where you're running across Bondi on the sand and you're putting yourself, I remember watching, I was like, man, this guy's got that dog in him, which I really love and I really respect. And to be honest, I love being around those types of people because it makes you want to be better. Do you think that's the main reason why you do these hard things is to find more out about yourself, or is there any other reasons?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's that self-exploration journey and constantly putting yourself in places that are unfamiliar. We are creatures of habit, but I think if we have enough awareness, you know, to constantly be, or not constantly, but like often, like test yourself, challenge yourself, put yourself in weird environments.
Yeah.
Environments you're like rocking up at a church service if you're not religious and just being like, what is going on?
Because all the uncomfortable challenges weren't just physical, right?
No.
Tell me about them. Tell me what a couple of them.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, like I would say, like going to a church service, I wouldn't say I'm an atheist, but I definitely don't believe in religion, or the religions that we believe in on earth. I remember rocking up, and there was actually a moment I sort of walked in with this almost idea, you know, and I was really conscious, just going there with an open mind, please. Yeah. And I was sitting there at one point during the service, and I was like, everyone was like singing and chiming along. I was like, I kind of want to be part of this. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that's how they get you. They're
trying to get me here.
I was like, it was such a nice feeling, but it did make me feel, it wasn't so much like super uncomfortable, but it was more like unfamiliar and different and unique. Had some really hard conversation with my parents, 7-day fast. I'm doing this month. I'm actually doing it in a couple of days. Going to try and stand for as long as I can. I don't stand still. I just don't really know what's an unrealistic amount of time. So
what do you mean stand?
Like
in one spot?
To stand still
in one spot.
I'm just going to live stream it and see how long I can last. Like I'm doing a lot of cycling at the moment, so I'm really conscious of that. It might not be that long, but I would love to do.
How long do you reckon you'll go?
I'm hoping 24 hours.
Standing in one spot.
Standing in one spot. I just don't know if that's unrealistic because I don't know until I'm in the challenge.
Right.
I don't know. I don't want to out myself here in our last 3 hours. Like I don't actually know what's going to be really hard.
I was going to say 1 hour would be gnarly. Like,
well, I think say the Anzac Day service.
Yes.
Like I stand still. That's like an hour and a bit.
Sure.
You're not completely still.
Yeah.
But it's like still enough.
Gotcha.
Man, I don't know. I get it. I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued. I might have to pee into a bottle or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then you go like, how do I go to the bathroom here?
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many thoughts to it, but I'm excited. I'm really excited.
1 second. Of what? Of standing still? Bro, there's something at 30 hours of standing still. That's a world record.
Well, I don't know what to try for the world record. I'm just trying to test myself. So I might last 2 hours and go, this is enough.
Gotcha. Mate, I do have a question from one of our mates that I'm going to play.
G'day, Garside, or should I say the creatine monster, to your mate Ned, the what farmer. My question to you is, actually I got two. Are you brave? Do you think you're brave? And then the second would be, what is the best decision you've ever made? What is the worst decision you've ever made? Love you, mate. Keep being you, brother.
It's a good question,
Jeez, I love that, man. Am I brave? I think I think if you ask any human a question like that at any time, it's like you'll have different answers because like there's definitely times where I feel like I'm brave and I'm courageous but then there's also times where, you know, maybe you haven't collected evidence for a while, so you're starting to question if you are, and it comes down to that masculinity thing of like, but I'd say I'm curious, and I think the curiosity is a beautiful form of courage and braveness because, you know, rather than just being like the person in front of you, I think curiosity is like being open to another thought or an idea and being really, I think that takes a lot of courage and braveness to be deeply curious about other humans. And so I'd say absolutely in some areas.
The brave thing's interesting because when I heard Ned, that was Ned Brockman, by the way, for those who are listening, one of the great men. When I heard that question initially, when he texted through, I was like, my first thought was physical. Like, would I be that person that would stand in front of domestic violence? Would I be that person that would step in if someone was to say something to my partner? Like, I thought physical straight away. And I love the way your head goes where it's just like, well, it's not just physical. It's like, are you brave enough to have a hard conversation with someone? Are you brave enough to put yourself in a position of going to church? And I love that. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's a magical thing because absolutely there's braveness. But I think there is an element of like, we are both athletes, you know, so you would hope that we have the braveness to stand up for something that we didn't believe in physically, right? But I think it takes, arguably, in the world we live in that is not as physical as it was 500 years ago. Wars were happening all the time. We live in a place where like we don't even know what real physical hardship is. Some of the people in our society might from Vietnam maybe or other wars, but like most people in Australia live in a place of safety and comfort. So I think actually brave now or courage now is like standing up in a moment when all your mates are joking about something you don't believe in.
Yeah.
That's a fucking hard thing to do. You know, that's a really hard thing to do. And I think that takes courage. And there's just definitely been once or twice where I feel like I have, and I'm proud of myself for that. And it's doing it in a way of like not asking my mates if they're wrong, but just having that curiosity of going like, hey, what did you mean by that? Or like, you know, it's like that's a nice thing.
Can you give me an example?
Like, let's say you're at the pub and someone like catcalls or something like that, you know, just like, it's like not critiquing them so much, you know, that they're like, oh, yeah, fuck, because you don't want to, they're your mate, you know, but you also, there's like this beautiful juggle of like, what's okay, what's not okay, like being open and curious to, hey, what did you mean by that? Because a lot of things that people say are just like throw off comments because so many other people say it. I would argue that in public, people aren't truly being authentic to who they are as people. You know, it's just like, so we have these social agreements that everyone kind of says, everyone chimes in. Like, I'll never forget when I was younger, Adam Goods getting booed. I wonder how many people actually believed in that booing. It was fucked. It was really wrong. Or was it just a social thing that everyone else is doing it, so I'm chiming in? You know, that doesn't make it right. It's arguably more cowardly, you know, but you're just doing it because the people next to you are doing it. COVID, prime example. Everyone just forms in line, you know? It's like, it's this social thing that we do. We don't want to be too different from the crowd, but I think it takes real courage to just being curious, going, hey, what did you mean by that? And being a little bit of a different grain. Because in that, it hopefully inspires other people, providing you're good at communicating. It inspires other people to challenge their thoughts, you know?
When I think of bravery and courage, as you mentioned, I also think of authenticity, which is what you did say. Again, from the outside, you are an incredible athlete in your own right when it comes to running, cycling, boxing, all of these adventures. But then you're also incredibly authentic in the way you show up outside of that, which I think is super impressive and is probably why so many people gravitate towards you and like the way you operate with painting the nails, wearing dresses, being out there with the way you speak and navigate. I guess the question that I am kind of circling around to is just like, how do we almost be authentic? Because I imagine there's probably a lot of people trying to find themselves throughout their way. And I know you mentioned that you were on the journey of still doing that, but from the outside looking in, you look so authentic and you don't, it's not like you're going to do something because other people are doing it. You're doing it things because you want to do it. What are some advice or things that you can give me or you can give people who are listening around, well, how do I find my way and how do I find my own authenticity?
Yeah, I think the first thing just comes down to curiosity. And it's like, creating space, whether it be for stillness or like, so the way I look at it, there's like a flame inside every single human, and there's certain things that we do that make that flame raw. You know, for me, it's like listening to a podcast about philosophy or being in the water. I love swimming, like as in not swimming like a training session, just being floating. That's a beautiful feeling. Being out in nature, laughing with my friends, combat. Great. Like all these things make that flame really raw. And there's certain environments that make that flame diminish, right? And if we're conscious enough about that flame, go to the places more often, create time and space to go to that place where that flame feels like, and if you don't feel like your flame's ever roared, that's up to you. There needs to become a level of agency. We live in Australia. There is so much opportunity. It takes courage to try something new, go to a dance class, go do pottery. Like there are so many things that we can do and we get one fucking shot at this, you know? And I know I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. I don't have kids, so there's I don't have anyone depending on me yet, or real dependence. But also as well, like if you do have kids, I think, like think about the role model that you kind of want to be to your kid. Do you want to be someone who's just living a life that you don't really explore yourself and you're just sort of like doing what everyone else is doing because it's what you've been told? Or do you want to live with a sense of curiosity and openness to try things? Then your young person is more likely to do that when they're older, and then they're going to live a more fulfilled life or a more curious life. Like that's way nicer, I think. So I don't know. I think it's just like constantly trying to feel that flame inside your belly.
It sounds like the energy thing, like go to where the energy is.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's, that in itself is probably such a beautiful way to live and look at what the next chapter is. I was listening to a podcast the other day and he was talking around goal setting and he's, I guess, like the way he looks at goals. And he's like, I don't look at goals as like a 5-10 year thing. I think that's way too far out. I'll look at goals or what I want to do in terms of 6 to 12 month blocks and projects. So And the question was, well, how do you decide what your project is? Like, how do you know what that is? And he said, it's what lights me up. Where do I get the most amount of energy? So whether that's around like building this project or doing this thing, and you kind of get that internal feeling where you're like, oh, fuck, I actually really want to try this out. Like, we've got a project to run all the major marathons in the world next year. So there's 7 of them. And for me, like, obviously scary, but we've been thinking about this since February, probably March. And bro, I was like so fired up. I came into my partner, I was like, I've got this idea. Like, do you reckon this is even doable? She's like, yeah. I mean, if you feel like you can do it, 100%. And she was so supportive, gave me like a little bit of like courage to be able to take the step. And then we're building, and then you like start talking to people about it, your mates who you're close to, and they're like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, that would be so sick. And then you announce it and you're like, man, we're actually doing this. And you just get so much energy from it. And I was like, well, I think that's probably the way I like to look at things now. It's like, well, the things that I want to do, whether that being in career, relationship, family, even the people you knock around with, it's like, how does that make me feel? If it lights your energy up, then that's probably that's a good sign that you're in the right spot.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think it's I think about this sometimes. It's a bit existential, but like life sometimes is a bit boring.
Yeah,
you know, when we're just like existing.
Yeah,
and we're not like, even if it's like, to be honest, I think life is meaningless. Utterly meaningless, and I love it. I love being a human, but the fact that we can distract ourselves or live life through a goal for 6, 12, 18 months, however long it takes to achieve something, if not longer, sometimes 10 years, right?
Yeah.
But it's like just that constant chipping away at something. It's so nice. And when you build that community, you build that connection with people, usually on the journey, which is incredible. But like, if you really think about it, life is meaningless. Like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing here. It could be so meaningful, you know, but like the meaning of life is arbitrary and we don't know. And it's nice. We get to make it up. The meaning of life could actually be you have to run these marathons next year.
Yeah.
It's nice. And for your next 12 months, it actually is the meaning of your life.
Yeah.
That's such a nice feeling.
Yeah.
You know? It's like we've placed God into our duty, and like, I'm running marathons next year. Like, that is what I have to do.
Yeah.
So nice.
But then it's also like the fact of like, because I'll push back on the meaningless bit a little bit, purely because like, because I imagine like the marathon, it's obviously a very shallow, superficial thing to do. Like, I get that. For me, and I imagine it's probably different for a lot of people, the marathon project actually allows me to run with different people around the world. So I get to meet incredible people. And I think when things get hard, we actually lean on those around us. And I think you talk about the meaning of life or whatever you want to do. I think, fuck it, a lot has to be around the people that you want to be around and that love. Like, it's a bit spiritual because I'm a bit of a spiritual guy. I reckon like love is the whole thing. I've done a bit of work recently, and been in spaces of like wanting to try and impress people, whether that's family members, role models, people in my circles. Really, that's not the play. Like, the play is being around family and friends and like loved ones. And so when life gets hard, we want to lean on those around you. And it's like the marathon is like just a metaphor for when things get hard, leaning on crews around
community,
you, right?
Community and connection.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think we're social animals who, pride ourselves on connections. And that doesn't have to mean blood.
Yeah.
That could just mean family. And family is just like an arbitrary thing. It's like the family and connection that you have around you. But I agree completely. I think life is for connection, and it sucks being a lone wolf. And I think there's so much online around, you see masculinity around soul, you're a soldier, you're by yourself, you're a lone wolf. It's like, no. Like there's, for a goal, there might have to be times where you have to absolutely hold yourself accountable and do things by yourself. Absolutely. But like, the best thing about anything is doing it with the brothers next to you or the sisters next to you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, it sucks. Like, I turned down so many social engagements, and don't get me wrong, I think you have to, in order to be a successful athlete or successful in whatever you want, you have to turn down certain things. Absolutely. Go to the places where that flame's roaring. But like, I won't deny that I stood on a podium at the Olympic Games, and because I burned so many bridges, and I'm not burnt bridges, but like, said no to so many things. It's like I felt like I was kind of standing there relatively alone. I absolutely had people around me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't, because so many people helped me get there. But there was a level of like, I don't know. I thought this is what I had to do and it's like, no, as you said, it's fucking community, love, connection. Saying yes to see your nephew be born. I said no because I was fucking busy training. You know?
Really?
How gnarly is that? Are you kidding me? That's such a gnarly concept. Like that's how much success meant to me. You know. But I don't have that same belief anymore. Because
tell me, how did it shift now?
It's just more around like, I don't care about success as much anymore because I did, for me, I got to a level higher than I ever thought I could, you know? So I got to a level I never thought was possible. And then, I don't know, I just felt like life is actually like search for your, like set the big goal, you know, you try to run 1,000 miles, whatever your big, massive goal is, absolutely set that goal for sure. But like family, connection, love, friendship, experience, living life, even the shittest of life and like feeling lonely or sad or grief. Like these are all magical. Don't turn away from them just because you're so focused on running this thing or achieving this Olympic gold medal. Like it doesn't mean that much, you know, but then being around your mum when she's going through breast cancer, that's a bit more meaningful. Or, you know, falling in love with someone, you know, which I find hard to do, but like falling in love with someone, allowing yourself the capacity to do that rather than focusing so hard on a fucking sporting success. Like this is all external validation that you're searching sometimes for.
If you could go back to when you first started your boxing career, what would you have changed after learning everything now? Would you change anything, or do you think that all that stuff makes you who you are today? And like whatever that looks like.
It's such a hard question to answer because it's like you have, I guess as the 9-year-old boy that started boxing, I just didn't have all this understanding, but I'm happy with how my life has turned out. I am still relatively young, 28, and I'm having all these thoughts about how important family is. And a lot of my decisions now are like trying to fix myself so I can be a great dad when that time comes. Looking after my brain more because I know boxing takes your brain capacity from you. Like a lot of things, decisions I make now are really conscious towards like, I'm trying to become a better man so I can be a better partner, so I can be a great dad. Like that was never a thought process before 25.
Wow.
Yeah. It was all just like success. And I'm like, fuck that. Fuck that. Being a dad, imagine holding your kid. Are you kidding me?
Man.
It's the most important job in the world. And if you can't have kids, then be of service to people in other ways for sure. You know, but being of service to people, fucking hell, that's surely going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, super. I go goosebumps the way you talk about. One of my really good friends, he recently had a kid, and he said, "Man, it changed my life. Like, I've traveled around the world. He's like, I've seen the most beautiful places in the world. I've done all these incredible things with my life in business and all these things." He's like, having my son is it is the best thing that has ever happened to me. It gives me like, it is a surreal sense of love that you can't imagine, which is exciting for us. Like both being 28 years old and like now we're in a space where that could be us in like the next 5, 10, 15, whatever years. It's cool, man.
Yeah. I'm super excited, but I'm also aware that there is a bit of work to do, which is so fine. Like I'm actually excited for it. Like, relationships has always been something that I've, found hard, but also as well, I think being in the athlete mindset, it's even harder because you're just so focused on your goals, your ambitions. Yeah. Someone comes and plays around with that, you're like, oh.
Yeah. I'm dialed in, leave me alone. Yeah. You've obviously had, some really gnarly curveballs, personally, publicly. And I guess I would like to know, I guess probably what I heard is, I've heard you spoke on a number of podcasts, one podcast in particular, where it's like you've struggled with addiction. You've had some really big public losses in the boxing space, in the public sphere. You said heartbreak was one of the hardest things to go through. How so?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think we're all deep down when we fall in love, we relive a lot of patterns that happen from a young age, whether that be parent relationships or even the first time you feel your heart, whether that be at the age of 10 or however old you were. And just like feeling like heartbreak. And I think we almost continuously relive those patterns until we're conscious enough or mature enough to work through them. But I would say, heartbreak sucks. Like I've always been a relatively sensitive kid. I don't know if I feel my emotions more than any other human, but I feel like I allow my emotions, more than the general public. And I think in that, it's like, when I feel love, I feel it. I'm like the most in love in the room, Or when I feel pain, I'm like, oh, this is terrifying. And big, heavy emotions are fucking hard, And I think, being in love, even like like there was a period of time where I feel like I was like going through a heartbreak with boxing. Like it's arguably my first love.
Yeah.
You know, it loved me before I even had the capacity to love myself. Like, you know, it's just like it is a pretty gut wrenching feeling, and it's so annoying that our system doesn't create space for young people to just like. It's like imagine an hour focused a day on teaching young people at school how to deal with emotions, even like identifying love. You know, talking about it. It's a hard thing to identify, but like just like talking about it, having that conversation about building emotional literacy, emotional intelligence. You know, talking about how it feels when someone says something to you, a hurtful comment, and trying to navigate that. You know, we're learning algebra when you can fucking sort the things out on your phone. Like, it doesn't matter, you know.
And imagine trying to learn that when you're like 15, 16, 17, when you're a kid trying to figure out who you are as a person, right? And like the hardest thing you go through is the hardest thing you go through, right? And so when you're a young kid and you have a heartbreak, could be the hardest thing that you ever go through. I remember when I was 17, I had like this older girlfriend and we broke up, and it was the worst thing. I thought like, I was like, I would go through any game of footy. I would bash myself for like whatever. I was like, that was the most gnarly thing that I go through. Like, have been through similar situations. And you know what, bro? Like, grateful that all of those happened, because then you get to the point now where you're in a loving relationship and you're like, man, none of this would have happened if I didn't go through that stage. And you know, talking around the mental health and relationships, like breakdown of relationships and financial stress are two of the biggest contributors to male suicide, right? And suicide is the biggest cause of death for men ages 15 to 44, right? Like, it's so prevalent in community. And so those who are not having conversations about it and learning and understanding, well, it's like we can get struck in it and we can get trapped in it.
I think, what I've seen definitely from my community, a lot of men around me, I think they throw themselves really hard into a relationship, and, you know, and I think, you know, when that relationship ends, if it ends, and sometimes it might be because of them, you know, so then they're feeling shame and guilt. Shame and guilt's like the lowest frequency besides death. Like, so I think if you're operating at that stage, it's like, no wonder you're feeling so shit. And I think it's, obviously men don't have the same spaces that women have stereotypically, you know, to talk about real things, or even just, it's not so much talking about it, it's like actually navigating it, because it's hard to articulate. It's hard to articulate, man, I feel sad right now. Like, I was in love with this person, and now they're not here. I can't talk to them. I can't, like, what are they, how are they going? Like, that's a really hard thing to navigate, you know, that loss. Like, and I think it's hard for any human, you know. I just think stereotypically for millennia, women have way better spaces that they can navigate it. And I think it is slowly changing, and it doesn't take away from the like fucked up numbers of suicide for men, but like, you know, I know there's so much work going into it, and I hope that more young people are growing up with a little bit more awareness, you know, a little bit more understanding that, you know, like, heartbreak is one of the most excruciating things, and that could even just be losing like a loved one, you know, losing a relative or a family member. Like, heartbreak, you'll all inevitably feel it at some point.
Any things that you've learned along the way to navigate heartbreak, whether that's through a breakdown of a relationship, loss of a loved one, you know, breaking up with your identity around professional sport, anything that you think have helped you along the way?
There's so many times. I think there's certain experiences that you need different things, right? But I would say overall, I think actually trying my best. Actually, no, I think this would just be lip service. I don't actually do this. I think there is an element of me that tries to distract myself from the emotion for a period of time, just because it's obviously that first period is really intense. And I would say that I distract myself. I wish I could say that I sat in it and I had the courage to do that, but I think it's really hard to do. So I think, I inevitably run away from it for a bit of time. And then hopefully in that time that I'm running away, it's like you allow yourself the space. It's like you're drip feeding it a little bit. And then I think you actually have to consciously create a time, whether that means a weekend away. Weekend's probably not long enough, but like a time where you're like consciously either getting off grid, getting out of the rat race, and just having some time to just really sit with it. And you might not even feel anything in that time, but you have allowed yourself an opportunity to just like not to be distracted. You know, because I think a lot of men I've seen in my life just run away, distract, and then 18 months later, like, I feel so unhappy. It's like, it's because you haven't felt anything from the last 18 months. You've drank and you've partied and you've slept with an abundance of people, and you haven't felt a single thing. This is like numbing. This is all numbing stuff. This is not, This is not actually allowing yourself. And I know it's like the people who give the best advice are the ones who need to listen to the advice. 'Cause I'm well aware that I don't do this sometimes. Like I run away harder than anyone. But it's like I know what I need to do, and I just sometimes I have the courage to do it, and other times I don't.
Man, I love that. I think that's so real and so honest. Even the ability to be able to get away, whether that's like drinking, drugs, abuse, all the things, but then also training as well. like training is fully my coping mechanism. And you say like probably a lot of guys like in our similar spaces in professional sport or even just out there, they talk about like the breakup glow up where, they're like, oh, these guys looking sexy.
Yeah, they
like
become a CEO of a company and they've got like 40 projects.
But it's a distraction. And the best thing that I love what you said is like allowing the time to actually just sit in it, because otherwise it'll just pop up. Yeah. And I've seen that in mates. I've had that in my own personal experience. I was even talking to a friend yesterday, recently lost her mum to cancer. Really, really sad, really emotional. I've got a lot of love for this person. And you're trying to get through, like you want to be the person for the other family where you can like, be brave and look after them. And then you want to train and you throw yourself into work, into business and all the things. And then one time you just sit there and it just like takes a hold of you, like the grief and like that emotion just takes a hold of you. And it was beautiful because she's like, I recognized it and I just sat in it and I cried and I really did cry and I really feel like goosebumps talking about it now because it's like they mean a lot to me. So I was just like, so I heard that, I was like, that's really beautiful. Like we can distract ourselves, but when that feeling comes, like don't push it away. Like open it up and really let it in.
I feel we live in a world, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, I think we live in a world that is head down, not body up. And I think we live in a world where we try and think our way through problems that need to be felt, and I think there was something I wrote and it was like, we were feeling animals before we were thinking animals, so why do we think our way through everything? And I think it's like, if that time that you can just stop distracting yourself, because life is so up here. It's thinking, it's problem solving, it's distracting ourselves with dopamine on our phone. There's just so many things that are just up here. I'm chaotic. I think so much, but it's like, I think we all can think of a time where we were off grid, didn't have phone reception in the air. Yeah. Yes, we're thinking for a period of time, but there is an element of time where we like, once that slows or dies down, whether you meditate, whether you don't, there would have been a time in your life where you were off your phone for a period of time and you felt yourself feeling your body again. You do that for long enough, whether it's a week, in nature, and you try and limit your phone use. Like, do that for long enough and you'll get back into this. What's going on here,
Is that gut feeling?
I don't know. I think I would say that I've always been quite instinctual from a young age, but I think it comes down to more being hyper vigilant. So it's like hard to know if that's intuition or if that's just because I'm in fight or flight. Like, is that could be a gut feeling? I don't really know, but I just think something that breathwork we were talking about before the podcast. Like I've done a number of breathwork experiences, and they taught me in the process of becoming an instructor that when we breathe in a certain way, it's like we get out of this problem solving with the frontal lobe. We get out of it and we come back here where there's monkey mind, lizard brain, and that's where we like, oh my God, like we really feel, and I think like I spend so much time in here, the frontal lobe, just thinking, analyzing face, like this is all just like happening really quick. So it's like nice to get out of that for a bit of time.
And do you reckon, what are some other ways to get out of our brains and our mind outside of breathwork, do you think?
I think it's consciously, like even a training session, I think is arguably the most meditative state we can go. Yeah. Like as long as, like say running, people talk about the flow state, which is really nice. But just creating times where we're not distracting ourselves. Not distracting ourselves. And don't get me wrong, we still inevitably will, because our world is so quick. When we do stop, it's still going. The brain is acting like it's still going, but it just will take time. But also, it's like those spinning wheels. Eventually, it slows. It slows. But you have to create the space.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. There was part 2 of Ned's question that we obviously deviated from a little bit. It was what was the best decision you've made, and equally what was the worst decision you've made? Do you think?
I'll start with worst, so you finish with a positive. Worst decision I've made. Probably just, I think this is quite a natural and universal one, just making really, really poor decisions from a young age around trying to fit in, be accepted.
Tell me more.
Whether it be about drug use or, I don't know, even just like the punishment of self. Even when it is from drug use, it's almost like the punishment and then punishment. So I would lose at a boxing tournament and then I would spiral into like, because my identity was so wrapped in sporting success in my teenage years. When I lost, you know, I felt it. I was a bad human, you know, it was me as a person. You losing a sporting match doesn't define who you are as a person, but from a young age, I thought it did.
There was a part, I think it was post Paris in the media or in the post match interview where you're like, something like, I just know what's about to come. Like it was something like, I just know what I'm going to do. Like, but then on the flip side of that, it's like you didn't go down that path or something. It was something like that. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So I, in the post-match interview, like I hate listening to it because I can hear it in my voice. I think I was really terrified.
Yeah.
I know the decisions that I had made when I had failed massively like that before, and the decisions were overdosing in front of my mum in 2020, were self-destructive behavior in my teenage years, like really poor behavior. And it's like we can only really compare ourselves to our past transgressions. So I thought, this is the biggest failure of my life.
Yeah.
Like I fell on my face in front of everyone.
Yeah.
You think that you're going to fall down that same rabbit hole. And I think, don't get me wrong, the last time there was a massive failure, not qualifying in 2020 for the Tokyo Olympics, like I made some really poor decisions. But so I think in that Paris in 2024 interview, I think I was terrified I was going to do the exact same thing. But it's really nice to know that you're evolving. And I held shame and guilt for that decision, that behavior. And I made better decisions the back end of 2024. And I think...
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I think in that it's nice.
I was going to zoom in on the decision to not go down the self-destructing path. Like what was it that made you choose the ladder instead of the snake?
Well, it's trying to be the man that you want to be. There also is an element of fear. I would say in 2020, I had no public recognition or any fame whatsoever. So there is an element of fear of making a really poor decision and being in the public eye now. But I would say overall, it's just like I'm trying to evolve into the man that I want to be. Yeah, I would say overall, but I wouldn't deny that fear of fucking up. Yeah.
I think, bro, to be honest, man, I think about that all the time. Like for every little decision that I made, it's like, what's the person I want to be? Like even circling back to like being a dad, I was like, well, if I had kids, what is that going to look like for them? Like, who are they going to look up to? Like, am I going to be the dad that's going to be overworking and doing all that thing? Like, I'm happy to grind now and I'm happy to be there for my partner and my family. Yes, but I'll grind now and then the ability to be able to spend time with them. Like, I want to be present for them. But then, like, how does that show up? Like, in the day-to-day things. And so circling back to, all right, what's the decisions that I need to make? I think that's probably a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I think Alex Hormozy says it's like, collecting evidence that you are who you say you are. And it's like, if you don't think you are that person, it's like, start acting like that person and collect the evidence that you are that person. And then eventually you hopefully rewire that. And it's like, I obviously don't have kids now, but I have like a little nephew. So every time I see him, I try and be as present as I possibly can be with him, because it's like, I want to be that with my kid. Like a kid's only thing is like, they just want their parents to see them and play with them. And like, that's like, they're kids, you know? And it's like, don't get me wrong, I don't know the complexities of being a parent, so I'm talking from ignorance. Absolutely. So I don't know how hard it is. It seems really hard. But I don't know. It's just like, all they ever want is just for them to just feel accepted for who they are, and you know, just to play and be seen. Like, that's such a nice thing.
Yeah, I love that. There's a neuroscientist over in America. She does this. She does a lot on socials now. Named M on the Brain. Emily, I forgot her last name, but M on the Brain's her socials, and it's really cool because she was on a podcast with Jay Shetty recently, and they talked about identifying with the person that you want to be. So even on like a really like employment, not shallow level, but like something in your career path, is like, if you want to be a podcaster, call yourself a podcaster. If you have fears and insecurities around doing something, or like, I'm not fit, I'm not a fit person, or I'm not a trainer, I don't have that, you don't identify that. But if you say, you know, like, I'm someone who likes fitness. I'm a fit person, and and almost like you identify it, then you start working backwards and re-engineering it. Well, it's like, well, what does a person look like that actually does that? So say if it's like, I'm a podcaster, well, what do you have to do? Like someone probably gets up and they might like to listen to other podcasts. They might like to write down their own thoughts. They might want to reach out to people that they might want to interview. And then you just start building evidence that you mentioned, like Alex Hormozy said. And then after a couple years, you're like, oh, well, actually, I am that person. Mate, to be honest, when I was playing footy, I hated media. I would always pass off the interviews and anything like that. I just wanted to be by myself and do my own just wanted to be a trainer because I thought that would affect my professional sporting, whatever. But now, having stepped into the media space, it's like, I love this. And I would, people say, your podcast, like, I don't know if I'm a podcaster, but now it's like, yeah, I guess I am. And I love having these really beautiful conversations with people who I look up to, who are friends, who there's like a mutual respect there. I love that. And so it's like almost identifying with what you want to be.
Yes.
Thoughts?
I remember I said that to one of my first ever talks was with some younger athletes. It was when I was really young. I think I was like 20. And I was talking to some athletes and I was saying, it's like, think about where you want to be. If it's an Olympic gold medalist, if it's a professional world champion boxer, think about the decisions that you think that they're making, you know, and act like that now, you know, and you might not get there. You might, who knows, but inevitably you'll evolve into a great version of yourself in pursuit of that. And I think that's all it is. It's like, we don't really, I've argued this. I'm like, I asked me and Ned talk really well, Ned Brockman. We talk so much about like, do you think people are born with like someone they're supposed to be, destined to be, or is it a blank canvas that we just create meaning? It's a hard question. We don't really know.
I was going to say, what'd you come up with?
Well, that's the thing. And I think life, it's so hard to know because I said at the start, someone like a Mozart who could he just play? He could play an instrument. And there's certain moments in life where these people are just like extraordinary. Nikola Tesla, like these guys are extraordinary people, you know, and it's like, maybe they were destined to be that. I don't know. But it's like, it seems like for the most part, most people have a blank canvas and then their life, they're born with sensitivities based on their parents, based on even the pregnancy, based on, you know, consummation, whatever. There'll be certain sensitivities that they're born with, but then life shapes them into who they are. That's what I think anyway.
You mentioned a few times around like removing ceilings or like reaching places that you never thought you would have got to. How do you think one would go about taking those boundaries and barriers and things away from them so they can reach their full potential or reach a place where they didn't even think they could get to?
I think it's hard, and I think it comes gradually. Like me, when I was younger, my ceiling was the state title. Yeah, it wasn't the Olympic gold medal. That's like I never forget this. At the age of 12, my first ever write-up in a local paper, I was like, I'm going to be an Olympic gold medalist. It's like, I didn't believe that. I didn't believe that at all. I'm just saying it because I'm like, but it's like this weird delusion. And I think, I don't know, it's like for me, it's like the state title was like, that was the Olympic gold medal. That almost meant more to me than the Olympic bronze medal because it was just like everything, right? And then eventually it like evolves. So it's just like, it's being super conscious, honest with yourself, not delusional. Maybe delusion's a great thing. I think delusion's great. It makes us believe that we can go to Mars.
Like setting big goals, you mean?
Big goals, but I think it's like breaking them down. People talk about breaking them down, but it's like, what is, for someone, they've never run anything over 3Ks. So running a 5K is like, that's their marathon. It's like, hell yeah. You know, and it's like working towards that. That's a nice feeling, you know? Cool. That's a really nice feeling.
Man, I love that. The other part of Ned's question was, what is the best thing that you've done?
I think it's a pretty easy answer. It's, I constantly got told, or collected evidence that people around me wanted me to make different decisions or turn my back on my dreams and what I wanted my life to be, and I never did. I never did, and I refused to listen. And even it was hard, you know. I was working with my dad as a roof tiler because I just needed a job that was working with boxing. He would always make sure I got to the boxing gym on time, which was nice, but it's physically hard roof tiling. So I pretty much fucked up the relationship with my dad for a period of time because I was like, I'm not doing this. He got me a job after I left school. And I think there was an element of like his two sons actually at the time were working with him, and it was like his pride, like he's passing on this thing to his sons, and I enjoyed it. Like I really did. I loved working with my dad, but I just knew I never wanted to do that. Like, and I don't know. I don't know if you're born with that or if it's, I don't know what it is, but I just refuse to do something I don't want to do. Like I don't know, there's absolutely times where I've done some things I don't want to do, but like a massive life decision about what you're going to do for the rest of your life, that is something I'm not willing to compromise with. I'll compromise with certain other things about going to an event that you don't really want. Just an hour of your life. But 40 years of your life doing something you don't want to do, that sounds like prison. Well, that is a prison. That is an absolute prison. And I said to my dad, like I sat him down, I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to work with you anymore. Like I really want to focus on my boxing. This is way too hard on my body. I'm having to wake up in the morning, run, go to work all day in the sun, go to boxing gym. I'm exhausted. Like my boxing was going down, and my dad took that really personally. It was like, I think he took it as like an attack on him and what he does, inevitably. And I don't know, it really fractured our relationship for a period of time. And our relationship is fine now, but it did take a bit of mending. Yeah.
Tell me about the steps to mend, because I imagine like that relationship between a father and son can be kind of tricky, especially probably for us, where our old boys are very much that old school personality, right? My dad's the exact same. He's a big lover, but he can be that way inclined as well. How do you go taking the steps towards mending that relationship, but then also the ability to be able to have that relationship in the first place, or being able to speak about it in the first place?
Yeah, to mend it was hard. But I just there's been a number of moments in my life where I just know that this isn't what I want to do, and I'm trying to look into the future. I've always been a bit of a forward planner, and I think like, what's happening? What's this going to look like in 5 years? Like, is this actually going to work? And I make very conscious decisions pretty quickly. And I just felt like roof tiling. I was waking up in the morning. I was just like, this is life. This is life now. Like, and I remember sitting him down and having that conversation, and I could just see it in his face. He's like, fuck, I got you this job. Like, his fear, and it comes from a place of love. There's two parts to it. It comes from a place of love. He knows that roof tiling gave him so much, gave him safety, security, financially. He provided so much for my family. So he knows that there's a level of safety in that, and he wants his kid to be safe. Like, boxing's a massive risk. Yeah. I'm fucking 18 years old. I've had no success. I'm delusional. I'm saying I'm going to be at the Olympics. I'm going to do this. You know, he's like, you haven't fucking done anything. Show me. You know, you haven't done anything. Like, and so he's realistic, or pessimistic, whichever way you want to look at it. But yeah, he was looking out for me, but it also comes as well, he has his own limiting beliefs. You know, my dad's one of the smartest men I know. He does one of those game shows when we're sitting watching the TV, and he gets every fucking question right. Like, that's so wild. He's smart as fuck. I said, mate, you shouldn't be a roof tiler. He's smart as fuck. But it's like there's that limiting belief of like, I went this path. It worked for me, relatively speaking. But yeah, so I think he was looking out for me. But and boxing it's a risk. It's a gamble. Like chasing anything that is different, you know, is genuinely a risk. Like, it's a massive risk. And I could have stayed working with my dad and maybe never reached my full potential. But I just know that I would have been 40 and just like probably in a relationship, had kids, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just not there. I'm not even myself.
So how'd you mend the relationship with him?
One of my first uncomfortable challenges, I've been doing, so this is month 83 since I started 2019, one challenge per month. So
and you've been doing that the whole time?
The whole time.
Whoa,
yeah,
man,
one challenge per month.
Yeah.
So the one this month is standing still. Yeah.
Gotcha. It's all coming together.
But yeah, so I think it was number 6, June 2019. I wrote my dad a letter. And on the letter it said, I miss my dad and I just want to have coffee and talk about what's really going on for us. And that feeling in my gut as I walked up to him, I was like, oh, I felt sick, you know? I didn't know how he was going to react. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I handed it to him, and watching his bottom lip quiver, as it often does when faced with like hardship or some deep emotion, he reluctantly said, not reluctantly, he said yes. And we went and spoke a couple of days later about what was going on for us. And it was really beautiful, because I took my dad not supporting my boxing career as him not loving me, not seeing me, not supporting me. But he was actually just scared of the decisions that I was making, the people I was hanging around with. I was 18 years old, hanging out with some dickheads. You know, boxing's not certainty. I'm not even like, I don't have both my feet in boxing because I'm partying and doing all these stuff that teenagers do. I'm trying to burn the candle at both ends. And it was almost like a bit of a wake up call, going like, what do I want? Do I want to be successful in boxing, or do I want to impress these people on the weekends? Like, what do I actually want? It was really nice. My dad was just worried. He was just worried that I'm going to gamble my life on this boxing career, and not get there, and then he's going to be left at 25 picking up the pieces trying to get a job, you know. And that comes from love. That's a parent. He's caring about me, right? And so we both walked away from that conversation. We shared so many tears that we walked away from that conversation with the massive hug, and like our relationship since has been like unreal. And I think
love that, man.
Sick.
That's a really good bit of evidence for anyone who is in a similar position. Because imagine how many kids are in a similar spot with their parents. Like, I imagine that's probably one of the biggest things where
they don't support me. They don't
support me. They don't love me. And not all the time, but I imagine a lot of the time it probably comes from a place of just wanting them to be okay.
Yes.
But then equally, it's on the onus on us to be able to be like, well, actually, I think I've got plans to be this person way bigger than what you think I'm possible of. And that's why I'm curious around how you just automatically had that feeling of like, no, I can do more than what my parents think.
Yeah.
Or what anyone thinks.
Yeah. Well, it's weird that coexisting reality inside myself, because I think there's something inside of me that doesn't believe that I can do this, you know? And I think I don't know if that's our ego trying to protect us, so you don't get too high, or it's the evidence that we've collected of your dad saying to you at a young age, you know, or you collecting evidence that your dad doesn't think you're good enough, right? Or your mum or anyone around you. Yeah. But I don't know. There's definitely something inside of me that like doesn't. But I'm just in this constant battle between the thing that really believes I can be the biggest version of myself, and also the thing that thinks that I'm not deserving of anything. So it's like they're constantly in conflict, and sometimes that little fucker wins. Yeah. You know, and that's okay. Yeah. Like that's inevitably how it is. Sometimes that's where the cookie crumbles. Yeah. But it's nice to have that battle and be really conscious of it. It's like no. It's like when you're in a training session. It's like I never forget this. I tracked my thoughts on this one run, and I didn't set distance. I think it was like, I was gonna say, I'll do around 10. Like there's no real set distance. And I started really tracking my thoughts and being conscious of my thoughts.
Would you write them down like as you were running?
As I was running, I was writing them in my notes on my phone. It was like at about 1,500 meters, it was like, it's like, oh, you know, you're running pretty fast. Like, just be careful, you don't want to get injured. And it starts getting really creative as the run goes on. But it's inevitably my ego wants me to stop. Yeah, it doesn't want your body to be stressed. You're not running away from a tiger. You know, you're not in real panic. And it got to about K6. It's like, you've run amazingly. This is how creative it was. Like, you've run amazingly. It was starting to really like lift me up. But it was like, that should be enough. Whoa. You know, it was like constantly just trying to tell me to stop. Yeah. But it's like just being aware of that. Man. It's this constant battle between something inside of you saying, hey, don't burn yourself out too much. You know, you're not in real danger right now. Yeah. You might be in danger soon. But I think that happens in every training session. Yeah. We're just not really aware of it, and we fight them all the time. It's nice.
Do you reckon you're a deep thinker?
I'm crazy. That's what I am. I'm psychotic, and I love it. It's like, I can't not think about this. I can't not. Like I don't give a fuck what your favorite color is. I don't care what the weather's like outside. Like, who cares? I feel it too. I feel the weather's hot. Who cares? Yeah.
But do you think it's more fun having these types of conversations?
Yes. My family hate it. Every time I go back down to Melbourne, that's where they are. I just like pound them with questions like this, like conversations like this, and like they're talking about the neighbor, you know, geez, like the hedges are coming over the fence, or, you know, just like stupid suburban stuff. They're just like, it's just passing time. It's a pastime comments. Like, and I don't know. I want to know what the fuck we're doing here. Yeah. And I don't ever want to find the answer. I don't like, I love that. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, we get that. It's so nice that we're just existing. It's like a miracle that we're here. And don't get me wrong, there's some people who live in absolute misery around the world for sure, but most people in Australia don't. And I think we're doing them a disservice if we're not living our life to the fucking fullest. Oh, we are lucky. We are so lucky. And I think about that all the time when I travel, we're just here, and there's so much stuff that we can do in Australia. And absolutely, if we can do stuff for people overseas, absolutely do that. Open your heart, be vulnerable, be empathetic. But it's also like, live your life hard. Man. Life is good. Yeah. Life is good. Oh, it's hard and it's messy, but it's fucking good.
And that's why I imagine you want to keep collecting all these war stories, right? Like we were talking in the lead up. You're like, man, then I was like, what's next? And you're like, man, I just want to collect war stories, dog. You know? And I was like, that's my guy, dog.
Yeah, there's something about it. Maybe it's just like inherent in us because our ancestors did it for so long. Yeah. All of our ancestors would have had war stories, man. You know? Like, it's just so gnarly. And there's also like stories of love and like art and being moved by something, looking at it in nature, triumph, hardship, like all these stories. That's all it is, you know, and hopefully I can remember them. I've been punched in the head a few times. Yeah. So I might lose my memory, but like, I don't know.
But I love that. And I, to be honest, man, I think that is just like a beautiful way to wrap up this conversation, man. Before we do wrap things up, what are you excited for coming up? What are the next couple months, years? What are you really excited about coming up?
Yeah, I have made no decision whether it's boxing, whether it's not. So I'm just allowing space for myself, and my calendar's been super busy, which is inevitably this happens at this time of the year. But January, pretty busy month with a few things. And then I reckon February onwards, I have like an opportunity just to like see, and try and listen to that younger version of myself. And I'm not sure, it might be boxing, it might be another combat sport, it might be another sport in general.
Come do an Ironman with me, bro.
Oh, we're doing one next year. Yeah. Might have to. But I don't know, the world's a big place, and I do very much have that philosophy of like, I'll be doing people overseas a disservice who would die to be in Australia. I'll be doing them a disservice if I'm not living this to the fullest.
Yeah, I heard on an interview or a podcast that you said you're not going to go back to boxing unless you've got that childhood inner drive to do that. Is that still the case? Yeah,
boxing's not like tunnel ball or volleyball. Like you genuinely get hurt. Yeah, you could generally get really found out if you didn't go in with that same level of intensity that I had growing up. It's like. Don't even get in. You get yourself hurt, and I'm well aware of that. I'm well aware that it's a dangerous sport. Yeah.
If you weren't doing boxing, what would be the sport that you would do you think?
I've been doing a bit of jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu recently, which has been so much fun.
How deep are you?
Well, like 5 sessions deep. Not many at all. But it's so much fun, and I get humbled.
It's physical chess, right? We're talking about physical chess with boxing.
Yes,
that is physical chess.
Yeah, and it's like you don't have brain damage. Great. Are you kidding me? You can do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. A couple busted fingers and busted ears. Yeah. I did a bit of Dewey when I finished up footy.
How grouse is it?
So fun.
It's so much fun, man, and it is like high level problem solving, like in the moment, and it's all instinctual. Bro. Not all instinctual. You're very much thinking, but it's like it very much feels instinctual. It's nice. You
but also like the learning curve of Dewey, like crazy. You could be doing it 10 years. You could be a black belt and still learning like different figurations, different moves, different like tap. Like that's what I loved about it, because I love the idea of like learning something for a long period of time. That's why I love psychology and mindset in that space, because I'm like, I will never know everything.
It's never ending.
It's never ending. Yeah. Like the journey of growth and learning is just like so huge. That's why Dewey I think is cool as well.
Yeah. I think I've always got to have, for myself, just because I know that what boxing gave me, it gave me a level of security physically. Yeah. I'm quite a small man. So I don't know, I feel I'm a way better version of myself when I'm in athlete mode. Yeah. Combat wise. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like even athlete mode, I did a half Ironman once. Like athlete mode for that was great. Like I felt like I'm a good version of myself, but something about combat for me, my personality, just perfect.
What happens when we get to the age where we can't do this like athlete? We can't get.
I think we'll be able to. Do you know Tommy Hafey? Do you ever heard of him? He's an AFL football coach, running marathons in his 80s.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. You might not be doing Ironmans. Yeah. You might be doing a 5K or. I remember seeing this 100-meter sprint of this guy. I think he was like 80 something, some Japanese dude. Are you kidding me?
Bro,
took about 30 seconds. I'd smoke that guy's ass.
I'll get that guy.
It's mad. Like, so sick.
I did the UTA 50 earlier this year, and there was a girl who was, I want to say in her 70s, did a miler, so 160K. Oh. She was out there for 2 sunrises. She did like 48 hours out there, and I was like,
incredible.
Me and my partner were sitting there, we're both crying. Like, they were so beautiful. And I was like, they're still going. And to be honest, man, that's the way I want to live. And I know we've had conversations around like doing these physical challenges or whatever, but I was like, the people that I want to knock around with and who I want to be around my kids, they're the crew who are still putting themselves in that position. So when we're dads and we're older, we're still like getting after it.
I don't even think it has to be physical though. It's like, it's trying to listen to that flame. Like I do pottery sometimes.
Yeah, gotcha.
And like, that's a magical thing. Like I'm pretty bad at it, but like, it's so meditative and like, you're just like working this thing out in your hands. Like, I don't find that thing that just makes you feel like you're just escaping reality for a period of time. Not escape, that's kind of a bad word, but just like you're so transfixed on what you're doing. That's so nice. And I definitely feel like when I train, when I do that, some other physical things or some creative things, like you're just in it. You're not actually thinking about the bills you got to pay or like the weird stuff that we got to think about in life. Like it's a nice thing that we have that moment where we can just reset ourselves and just be in it. That's so nice.
Bro. Thank you so much for today, man.
Hell yeah.
I feel like that was beautiful. Like I really love what you stand for, and I'm really glad that you're in this space, in a public space where you can, have these types of conversations and be a role model for so many other people, dog. So, bro, I appreciate your time today.
Hell yeah, brother. Keep leading from the front, mate. Love the podcast.
Let's go, bro.
Oh.